Hey there, Improv Tipsters. Welcome back to Improv Tips, where I and some of the best improvisers in the world give you improv tips and advice to make you a better, more confident, and happier improviser wherever you are in your improv journey. I am, as always, your host, Paul Vaillancourt. Let's begin. Today's guest tipper is Jill Eichmann. Now, Jill Eichmann is a licensed psychotherapist, drama therapist, play therapist. She is also the co-founder and artistic director of Leela Improv Theater in San Francisco. She is the producer of Femfest. She has directed over 100 original shows. Just check out her information, ding ding, down below. It goes on so many things she's done. And most recently, she is also the creator and player in The Friendship Show, which I will be on tomorrow. I'm posting this on Monday, and I will be on the show tomorrow, Tuesday. I'll put a link, ding ding, down below, so it's easy to find that as well. Jill's tip today is about emotion. Now, I am a big believer in emotion and improv, and you can check out this ding ding tip by my lovely bride, Lindsey. You can check out this tip, ding ding, by the lovely and talented Dan O'Connor. You can check out this tip, ding ding, by Nick Armstrong, which I think also deals with emotion and sort of how to infuse your scene with emotion. And now Jill's tip comes at the idea of emotion from several different angles. The first is dealing with emotions that we may not have dealt with in real life yet. And sometimes, you know how improv is like truth serum. Sometimes you wander into some crazy territory. You're like, oh shit, I wasn't ready to talk about this yet. This is too real. She talks about that. She also talks about how to flip the idea and how to access those more substantial emotions to add some more substance and gravity to our scenes to make them a little bit more meaningful. She comes at it from a bunch of different angles. I think it's really going to help a lot of people because I think this is something that we leave out of our work a lot. It gets too glib, it gets too quick, and this idea of emotion really infuses the scene with meaning and gravity and substance, all things that I love to see in an improv show. But you have heard enough from me. Right now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy Jill Eichmann.
Hello, my name is Jill Eichmann, and I'm the artistic director and one of the co-founders of Leela, which is a San Francisco-based improvisational theater company and training center. So something I've been playing with is tools for psychological safety when using real-life material. It's giving improvisers some tools when they stumble into material or emotions that feel too real, too much, too soon, and then also the opposite, giving improvisers tools when they want to deepen their vulnerability on stage, connect to that material, bring more honesty and authentic emotion. So improv is dangerous. I'm not gonna lie here, right? It's not the most comfortable thing to do. So many people don't do improv because it sounds scary, it sounds terrifying, right? It sounds vulnerable. So it's dangerous. We are putting ourselves out there in a big way. What I always make sure to tell our improv students at Leela is there is a difference between something that's uncomfortable and something that's unsafe. And me, as your improv teacher, I will never make that distinction for you, right? You, as an improviser, get to make that distinction of like what feels unsafe and what feels uncomfortable, right? So it's important for us as improvisers to really get to know ourselves in this process. So tip number 1, get to know yourself. Is there current material that feels too much for you right now? Well, it's bound to come up. So improv for me is like dreaming. It's your subconscious on stage. So many of my therapy clients, adults and kids, play out so many things they are struggling with through improv and imaginative play. So it's important for me to say, as much as improv is not therapy, much like therapy, we can't hide from ourselves, our psyches, our current lived experience, and we are engaging in this act of spontaneous play. It's bound to come up. So when it comes up on the improv stage, it's important that you do some work on your own about that, right? So do some journaling, talk to a friend, talk to a fellow improviser, your teacher, about this thing that's coming up in your play, and then find some other places besides improv to put it, right? Because if it feels unsafe for you on stage, it's a sign that you're not doing your work outside of class. You're not really confronting the material on your own, right? So do your work outside of class and then come to the stage and it will feel more playable for you. So tip number 2, get to know your team, get to know your ensemble. What's up for them personally? How are they feeling today? For real. What feels playable? What feels unplayable? What feels unsafe, what feels uncomfortable for them today, and how can you support them in playing or not playing with their real material. And if real stuff comes up, have some communication with your team about what to do in those moments. Like let's say, we're in the middle of COVID right now and a team member is like, it's just too much for me right now. I'm too emotionally raw about COVID and everything that's going on with COVID. Can we please not play with COVID? And let's say it just comes out either by that member who said, I don't want to play with COVID, or somebody else because it's so in our psyches right now. So what do we do when that happens? Do we edit the scene? Do we make a new choice? Do we go deeper? So it's important to just be super, super intentional about what we do about people's boundaries around content, okay? It's not just having the boundary, it's what you do with it when you cross the boundary, because you will. Okay. So it's also important to have communication after it happens. So no one likes to make mistakes or cause unintentional harm on the improv stage. It feels horrible. So creating some sort of ritual or structure around communication when a mistake happens is super important. So we can all learn quickly and make new choices to support each other in the future. Tip number 3, aesthetic distance. I love this tool. So like I said, it's going to come out. Stuff is going to come out. So what do you do in the moment? So Renee Amuna, who was the founder of the drama therapy program I went through at California Institute of Integral Studies, came up with this term called aesthetic distance in drama therapy. So aesthetic distance allows real material, emotions, current dilemmas to be expressed through the safety of a metaphor. So when we use metaphor or symbols as a vessel to express our emotions, it gives us some room to hide. We can decrease our level of vulnerability, our level of exposure, and play pretend in a fictional world, even though these feels are very real. So for example, let's say a family member passed away recently and you are feeling a lot of grief and sadness. You find yourself in an improv scene and something in the scene caused the grief to bubble up. So I'm sure those of us who have experienced grief know that it can hit you at any moment and take you by complete surprise. So let's say you're in that moment and you notice the grief bubbling up, you notice the sadness bubbling up, and you want to continue, right? You want to keep playing. So in that moment, you can transfer that grief onto a fictional situation. Maybe tell your scene partner that a pet passed away or you lost a bunch of money. Connect it to something related to loss, but doesn't have that same tightness, that same attachment to the actual real material. So instead of it being a family member, it's something that you lost. Maybe you lost your keys, maybe you lost your cell phone. You can still bring in those real feels, choose something to attach those real feels to a fictional world that you don't have an attachment towards. That feels like you have some distance. Okay. Also with aesthetic distance, you can choose to bring more material or more authentic, real current emotions to your scene work. Let's say you don't personally feel very connected to the current improvised material. Maybe you were gifted that you are an alien who's left your planet. So it's like, wait a second, how do I connect to being an alien from Mars? That's so, not something I've ever experienced. So instead of focusing on being an actual alien, maybe focus on the leaving part. Have you ever moved in your life? Have you ever experienced a breakup? Have you ever left a job, right? Or maybe feeling different than everyone else. Have you ever had an experience where you felt like you're the only one like you, right? So take a moment to go back to that memory. So bring that past lived experience to the present. So as you remember that moment, bring the past memories and details to the present scene while mixing in the details of this alien premise that you were gifted. So personally, the thing that I can relate to with this alien leaving a planet, right, is this feeling of being different. I grew up in Texas and I was Jewish. I was raised Jewish, one of the only Jewish people in my class. And I invited all my non-Jewish friends to my bat mitzvah on my 13th birthday. And I remember this feeling of like standing up there and like looking out at all my friends just looking at me like they had never ever experienced anything like this before. Like they've never experienced somebody speaking in the Hebrew language. They never experienced a temple and what that looks like. And one of their friends doing this thing that it seemed so foreign to them. So I could take that experience of my bat mitzvah and I could say, oh, wow, here I am, the only one. No one can relate to me. I feel so weird. Everyone's looking at me like I'm a bizarre, strange creature. Here I am, standing on this pulpit. I'm about to speak in a language that no human understands. This Martian language, right? So yeah, I've replaced the Martian alien with this real lived experience of being Jewish in Texas. So connect the scene with a real emotion you felt and bring that into your improv. So last tip number 4. So we've all heard how it's so great to be vulnerable on stage, and with authenticity and with vulnerability, sometimes we can feel overexposed, right? It's important to do this vulnerability thing, right? But let's do it mindfully, because when we are dipping into spontaneity, not only is the audience surprised by our spontaneous choices, so are we. And our real feelings can also surprise us and our scene partners and destabilize us. So have a game plan for after a show. Have some time to debrief with your group, take some time to take a few breaths, free write in a journal, do a voice memo note about your feelings that came in the scene. So give yourself some structure to wind down and calm. So this will provide you some stability after you have been vulnerable on the improv stage. So I hope this encourages you. I hope this tip encourages you to be vulnerable and go for some emotionally exposing material on the improv stage, because it will connect us as human beings. And that's ultimately what I believe we are to do as improv artists. Thank you.
Hey friends, thanks for checking out the video, and if you want to hear a little bit more, check out one of these 2 quality videos. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and follow us on social media. All the links are in the description down below, and let me know what you would like to see an improv tip about. Thanks for watching.